Yo, my eyes do not want me to be great today, so I'm just letting you see this hard work I put into this makeup because today I'm going to be reading from this guy. Girl. She's a girl. Or book. Books don't have genders. Anyway, I'm going to be reading from this today, but I will be wearing my glasses because I'm having very watery eyes. You guys will be perfectly fine. And I'm actually going to be reading from my phone because a significant amount has changed since this was printed. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to hold it up and pretend like I'm reading from the book and actually read from my phone instead. You'll be okay, I promise. Okay. Chapter 1, which in this book begins on page 9. There's a bit of content before the first chapter in Shuri, but I hope you'll dig it. Anyway, chapter 1 is called Princess. No sooner than Princess Shuri places her mission log Komoyo bead into its nest for upload, her mother walks in and waves her nose. My goodness, Shuri, what have you been up to in here? Mother, Shuri exclaims, darting around the room, collecting flasks and vials and odds and ends in a futile attempt to clear some of the chaos. Despite the lab being a sacred space created just for her 3 years ago as a 10th birthday present from her darling brother, Shuri knows how Mother, in all her queenliness, feels about messy spaces, especially work-related ones. Did you not see the experimentation in progress sign on the door? You're supposed to ring the bell. Queen Raimonda flicks the notion away as if it's little more than a pesky insect buzzing around one of her elaborate head coverings. Shuri often wonders whether her mother's myriad hats, wraps, and scarves put a strain on her neck. I'm serious, Mother. What if I'd been testing the effects of gamma radiation on vibranium or something? You could have been injured. The only thing that could injure me in this place is the turmoil, or perhaps the stench. Have I not told you? A cluttered space is the sign of a cluttered mind. Yes. You've been telling me that since the time I used to dismantle Baba's gadgets in my pre-primary years. Shuri grabs the unrolled bolt of shimmering gunmetal fabric that lies draped across 2 chairs, the shoulders of a mannequin, and a pile of books, and begins to roll it up, knocking over an open box of circuits and loose wires with a deafening crash in the process. Raimonda's fingertips go to her temples. Beloved ancestors, why do you vex me with this child? You know you love me, Mother, Shuri says as she trips on a panther boot prototype and goes sprawling. Oops. Queen Raimonda sighs. Yes, I do. She reaches down to pull her daughter to her feet, which is precisely why I am here to escort you to the dress fitting I've no doubt you've forgotten about. Shuri's smile tumbles to the floor, landing somewhere in the pile of fishy-smelling material. Dress fitting? My point precisely. Come on now. Aw, Mother. But it's no use, and Shuri knows it. The Queen's word is final. So with a huff and a longing glance over her shoulder, she trails her mother out of her favorite place on Earth, all the way to her least favorite place, the glorified, oversized closet with bathroom space that comprises the Queen's dressing chambers. Queen Raimonda was right in assuming that Shuri had forgotten not only about the dress fitting, but the reason for it as well. Now, in addition to being grabbed and prodded and turned and poked like a pincushion, she's just so wiggly, Lawazi, the royal clothier, mutters. Shuri is also being treated to a verbal lashing by the Queen Mother. How does the princess of a nation, who is first in line to the throne no less, forget about the Typhon Gao as if it means nothing? Mother is pacing. Shuri hates it when she paces. Relax, Mother. Eek! Shuri shrieks as she's pinpricked again. I will not relax. At least one of us has to take things seriously, Shuri. It isn't as if the tribal elders gather frequently. These meetings are vital for the continued unity and well-being of Wakanda. This particular one especially. As Shuri now knows, Mother has been walloping her over the head with it since the moment they'd left Shuri's lab. There's a council meeting this afternoon. It's the final one scheduled before Challenge Day. During this meeting, the tribal elders will discuss security concerns and other important matters. So fine, it's one Shuri probably should have remembered. That being said, Mother does seem more vexed, as she likes to put it, about things than Shuri feels is warranted. Mother, is something wrong? Shuri asks as Lawazi finishes removing her from what feels like a fabric cocoon and begins to pack his pins, needles, and the like. Of course not. Why would you ask that? The queen replies. As the clothier exits the space, she drags Shuri to a velvet-topped stool at the center of the vast room and shoves her down onto it. Perfect timing on the fitting. The braiders have arrived. The braiders? Shuri's arms cross over her head. But why? Tuh! You think I would permit your appearance in front of the elders with that mess on top of your head? There is nothing wrong with my hair. Tell it to the gods, Ramonda replies. Perhaps they will hear you. At that moment, 3 women with luminescent brown skin stride into the room wearing identical blood-red silk robes with matching cylindrical caps. They look, to Shuri, like angels of scalp death. She wishes she had a small vial of heart-shaped herb essence to drop on the floor. There is no doubt the beautiful braiders would all flee from the fishy stench. Forgive my impropriety, Mother. I won't have to if you refrain from being improper, Shuri. The princess huffs. I was just thinking. T'Challa has promised to make me the Minister of Technology and Advancement in just a few years' time. Wouldn't this time be better spent in my lab, building and experimenting and discovering new uses for our beloved vibranium instead of these, ouch, relatively impractical aesthetic pursuits? Ow! If the princess would not mind holding still, the braider on Shuri's right says. They have her surrounded, one on the left, one on the right, one at Shuri's back, and Mother standing sentinel in front with what Shuri knows are wildly bejeweled hands clasped behind her. Even as the Minister of Computers and Progress, Technology and Advancement. Oh, to have a mother who takes my passion so seriously, Shuri thinks. Yes, that. Even with that role, you will still be the sole princess of this nation, Shuri. You are a royal. Bast chose to bestow upon your ancestors the mantles of ruler and Black Panther. Looking the part is an inescapable aspect of the position. But mother, don't but mother me, Shuri. This hurts. The queen bends at the waist so she and Shuri are eye to eye. The pain is temporary, my dear. She takes Shuri's arms at the wrists and crosses them over her chest to form an X. But Wakanda is forever. As the braiders continue their torture, Shuri's eyes roam the chamber. Above the wall of lighted mirrors in front of her are painted portraits of Wakanda's queens, past and present. Ramonda is there. Shuri remembers bursting into the room where her mother was perched, with perfect posture, on a tufted red velvet chair edged in gold. The princess was 6 years old at most and wanted to show her mother her latest creation, a drone with a vibranium-centric flight mechanism that used sound waves to stay airborne. The louder the noise, the closer the thing would fly to it. Which the painter found out the hard way. Out this instant, he boomed. And the drone flew right into the still wet nose of Mother's portrait. Shuri smiles at the memory, but as her eyes dance over the other queens, everyone is there, from her father's mother to that grandmother's grandmother's grandmother. A little well of disquiet opens up inside of her. Her gaze sticks on Niamh, T'Challa's birth mother. The woman passed away long before Shuri was born, but Shuri knows that before she married T'Chaka, Shuri and T'Challa's father, Niamh was the chief scientist of Wakanda. Did Niamh step away from her scientific pursuits when she became queen? Did she shirk her lab gear for fancy dresses and glittering jewels and elaborate headwear? What about the other queens? Did they have endeavors beyond occupying the throne? It's not that Shuri believes her mother's job is frivolous. She's fully aware of the mental and emotional fortitude necessary to spearhead diplomacy for an entire nation, even one that remains hidden from the world at large. But what else were queens permitted to actually do? And what of the other princesses? There certainly was no tribute to them anywhere, at least not one Shuri's seen or heard of. How many of the queens looking out over this most queenly of rooms in the royal palace birthed daughters? Had any of those princesses been scientists, tinkerers, builders of drones with vibranium flight mechanisms? Clearly their brothers ascended to the throne and took wives, and those wives are the ones featured in these portraits. But what of the royal daughters? Shuri is snatched back into the present as the braider on the left rips through a clump of tangled coils with a fine-tooth comb. Weapons of mass destruction, those things, she once complained to her mother. The women above her are chattering about Challenge Day. Do you think anyone will come forward? One is asking. To face T'Challa, another replies. They'd have to be mad. Agreed. T'Challa's the fiercest Black Panther Wakanda has ever seen. But the same was said of Baba, and we see what happened to him. The thought arises in Shuri's head unbidden, surprising her with its sharpness, its truth. An image of T'Challa, holding Baba's panther habit in his hand, floats before Shuri's eyes. She blinks it away and returns her focus to the portraits. Whether or not those women, or their daughters, had active roles in keeping Wakanda safe, Shuri doesn't know. But she does know one thing. T'Challa requested her help. She has to figure out that habit. So, yeah, this comes out. Oh, by the way, this is first chapter Friday. I don't think I actually said that because my eyeballs are just being really rebellious right now. This is out in just a couple weeks on May 5th, 2020. And it means a lot to me. It's a book where I finally got to write a version of my own younger self who was very nerdy and loved science. And like in 7th grade, I was like devouring Michael Crichton books. So getting to write a version of myself who wasn't getting made fun of, but is in fact, saving not only the day, but her country. Man, I can't tell you how powerful an experience this has been. So check it out. Hope you dig it. I'm going to go wash this stuff off of my face now before I start weeping mascara. Have an excellent one. Goodbye.